All right, whenever you want.
All right. Hi, this is Mehdi,
Hey, this is Fran.
and this is Total Tactics Football. Whew! Also win the FA Cup. Fran, how was that game for you?
Honestly, it was a very end-to-end affair, I think, in the first half, and then in the second half, with all these sort of injuries and kind of decisions, it sort of was a little bit more lackluster. But ultimately, I think Arsenal did enough to get their hands on the trophy, and such a massive win for them because this means Europe and a promising start for Arteta in his first half season almost.
Yeah, definitely. And, this is what they've been waiting for. Their transfer window depends on this, tying down certain players depends on this. And we'll see where this goes from here. But incredible victory. Just a few games away ago, no one was expecting it. But that's what it is, right? Like football, things change so quickly. We saw with Chelsea as well today. I mean, first 20 minutes, incredible. They were on top. Arsenal looked lackluster. They look scared.
Mhm.
And water break comes in. And what happens is Arteta gives the speech, and you can see as soon as the players come back onto the pitch, the game has changed. Arsenal are making attempts. They're constantly going at players. Pepe scores a goal, which is disallowed. The ball over the top from Tierney, and Aubameyang runs in. Azpilicueta pulls him, and they get a penalty. They score. But I think the big damage happened was as soon as Chelsea lost Pulisic, and I feel like you knew after that Chelsea had lost one of their most important attacking threats. What do you feel like about that?
No, absolutely. I think Pulisic carries the ball very well because he's able to take on defenders. And I mean, you saw today he had four dribbles completed, even though he played half a game. That's not actually something you see very often.
Yep.
And even when he was taken down, I mean, he was about to go for a shot on goal. So it
Yeah.
tells you how direct he is as a player and how essential he is. And I think the best game that highlights that is obviously the match versus Liverpool. And ultimately, with Willian being out, it worsened things for Chelsea, didn't it?
I think so too, and I feel like that's what we were discussing in our last video, where Chelsea's depth. We were worried that obviously Arsenal wouldn't be able to compete with them, but as soon as they lost Pulisic and we didn't know Willian was ruled out for the game, you could see that Chelsea didn't have that attacking potency, threat that they could bring off the bench. We know they have Pedro, who's a bit of an aging player, and they have Hudson-Odoi, who's, you could say in the same regard as Nketiah and Willox, who's young. Like they're talented, but not necessarily a proven threat, and that's what it is. And you could feel it with Pulisic off. Chelsea looked like they weren't gonna score a goal.
Absolutely. I mean, Pedro was substituted on for him. He made some good dribbles, made some good runs, but ultimately you see Pedro, one of the key issues with him and Willian is that they sort of dribble slightly away from goal and keep the ball too long. And when you don't have that sort of directness and that sort of threat, it shows how poor this Chelsea side is. But, I mean, moving on really, I think another key talking point of the game was the sort of refereeing, the decisions,
Yeah.
especially the Kovacic second yellow, even the first yellow, very contentious. But yeah, I mean, him getting sent off, I think, really soured things for Chelsea.
True. I do think the first one was a yellow card for sure, but the second one was just not even a foul. That's poor. That's poor on VAR. I mean, I know Chelsea wasn't necessarily in the game too well, but still, 11v11 is a huge different game than 10v11. And Chelsea fans will always think about like the what if, and they were definitely unlawfully taken that right away from them. And it's something that needs to. We have had a lot of discussions this season about VAR. I do feel that this summer they really need to look at these things. I mean, why isn't the yellow card looked at? And ultimately, if like in this situation, let's say Pulisic was on and they lost the man, well, you could wonder like that could have cost Lampard a trophy. But it's unfortunate, and I hope they make no difference. How do you feel?
No, I agree with you. I think people shouldn't go overboard about the refereeing decisions because you have to look at this context of the game. So ultimately, the issue is that you can see once Pulisic came off, Chelsea have no sort of directness, and Kovacic being sent off just masks the issues for Chelsea in that game. And we already mentioned the Willian context. So you have to give credit to the fact that Arsenal were able to create plenty of chances. You saw that Lacazette chance in the second half of the game where he had unfortunately aired a good chance to Aubameyang, but Aubameyang was clearly through, not just for his second goal, but he had multiple chances, and that's the sort of breakages that you could see in the Chelsea side, even when they were with 11 men.
And I think that came through a lot due to Pepe being a lot more direct today. As we mentioned, Ainsley Maitland-Niles played left back. left wing back, and Bellerin was on the right, it allowed for Pepe to be a lot more closer to goal. And we could see that today. And we asked that he should play direct. He should look at grabbing the ball, running at defenders, and that's what he was doing all game today. And that's what that's what Arsenal paid for him. That was the kind of player that we know he's supposed to be. And he created a lot of chances. Even the chance that you mentioned with Laka, he's the one who gave the ball to Laka. And for the goal, Bellerin's pushes through, like he a bombarding run, the ball falls off to Pepe, and he again creates, like, they're sort of forming these partnerships that we mentioned once as well. That these partnerships are important. The players need to understand the runs of each other, like how another player works, the space, and that's what Chelsea lacked as well. Because in the first half, with Pulisic running, Mount worked so well with him, and in the second half, Mount sort of disappeared as he didn't have that partnership to play with.
No, absolutely. I think, Lacazette does a fantastic job too in terms of partnerships, because he's always the person dropping deep, allowing Aubameyang to make those key runs. And, as we predicted in the kind of preview show, that Tierney over the top ball pass happened, and it was fantastic for Arsenal. I mean, ultimately, when it comes down to it, I think Arsenal thoroughly deserve this win. They have Europe, and it means a lot to them, and it means a lot for Arteta, and also players like Martinez, who joined, in the post-lockdown after Leno was injured, and had fantastic performances. So what a feel-good story, really.
Definitely. He's been with the club for a long time. He's never looked like he was ever going to become a starter. But credit to him, he's worked hard. He's there. He's made it. I mean, I hope either he stays at Arsenal or he leaves, doesn't matter. He gets the chance to play for a team where he's adored, and he gets like first team chances. Just signing off before that as well, I feel like mentioning how important I feel to all this, how great Arteta's done. It's people were a bit worried because he's an inexperienced manager coming in, but he seems to have steadied the ship. The players who looked uncoachable seem to have picked up discipline. We know there's still a lot to do. He needs to be backed in the transfer window. He needs to move a few players who don't want to play at this moment or aren't playing, and he needs to be given people like Ceballos. Arsenal needs to tie down these players. He's phenomenal, and we'll see what happens next season.
No, that's exactly right. And just moving on to Chelsea, I think when you look at the season in retrospective, I think, unfortunately, with all the injuries, next week in Munich isn't going to be a happy night for them. But it's really all about what the season meant for Lampard. He managed to secure top four. When you start the season and you look at Chelsea's expectations with the transfer ban and Hazard going out, you don't expect these sort of results, and you don't expect 2 cup finals for Chelsea. So all in all, fantastic season for Chelsea. Arsenal are the winners tonight, but Chelsea shouldn't feel left down, because next season seems primed for them with the transfers.
With the incomings of Ziyech, Werner, and even possibly Havertz, Lampard is the right man. He's done so well. Even today, they were great in those certain moments when they were. He has a lot to learn. He is still a young coach, and I feel like he is someone who's going to be there for a while. And he's going to be doing great.